Temple of Heaven in Beijing, and that's the inside of the CERN atom smasher in Geneva. That and that. Remarkably similar. Again, you say, well, it's just a coincidence. But after a while, the coincidence begin to mean much more than that. Okay, well, I'm here to answer any questions, or I'm told I've signed a few books and take some away.
Can you show us the book, Kevin?
I could if I had one. So this is it. All of the readings, your character readings are given in one chapter, your daily readings are being given in another chapter. There's a sleeve in the front and in the back. The front sleeve gives you something that you can photocopy and fill in, that simply gives you your basic character reading, works out your unique digital DNA, and then shows you how to get your unique character reading. There's 64, whereas there's 12 horoscope readings, there's 64 potential Chinese characters that are supposed to describe your character. I've got friends who now do this. Every time they know someone who's had a baby, they run off their digital DNA, fill this in, and give them as a keepsake, and they frame it. So, you know, that's at the very basic level. But once you've done that, you can then use this time and time again with a set of random numbers that are given in the back of the book. Again, you just pull them out, and every day you do a sort of number check on your personal numbers, how often they occur in the random numbers, and that gives you a score for that day, like a lottery number. There's 6 of them, and those 6 numbers tell you where to go in the book for your reading that day, and they will be different every day because they're like lottery numbers. They'll be different every time. And you can do your reading and see if it's relevant to something that's on your mind. Now, I try this everywhere I go. I'm shameless about it. I go in Chinese restaurants. I did it just before I came here. I was in a Chinese restaurant and I said to the guy, "You Cantonese or Mandarin?" He said, "Both." I said, "Okay, what does that say?" And he said, "Boin Xing." I said, "So that's Cantonese." I said, "If it's Ben Xing in Mandarin." He said, "Correct." I said, "What does it mean?" He said, "Your true character." I said, "Okay." Honsho is Japanese for your true character. So to a Japanese, a Mandarin speaker, all means the same. So that's where the logo came from. That's what it means. And then I did his reading on an iPhone because I didn't have time to do it here. I was trying to get the bill down, so I offered him something for free. But the truth is, I like to see the reaction. And I've done it in Beijing, I've done it in Dalian, I've done it in Shanghai, and it's fascinating to see how a Chinese person reacts. And he read it, and I said, "Well, is it relevant? It's just a bit of fun." He said, "That's because I lost my job as manager last year, and they want me to now take up the job again, but I'm a year older, and I've told them I'm not doing it, and that's what it says." I said, "Okay, thanks for telling me." Because strangely, they take it much more seriously, almost as if it is predictive, because they know its history is from China, and they don't doubt it, its accuracy. We're a bit more suspicious, and a bit more rational, a bit more Western, a bit more scientific. But even if you are, it's still uncanny. Okay, so that's what you get when you buy the book. And I'm happy to sign any if anybody wants me to. Have you got any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
The I-Ching, that you spoke about, does it access the DNA by way of your ancestors? If you understand it.
Yeah, I do understand the question. The Chinese view those readings and pronouncements as messages from their ancestors. It's a body of knowledge, like our Bible, that they believe is unquestionable, and that when you're consulting the oracle, which is what it is, you're finding their opinion on something you've got an issue about. Now, you talk about DNA. It's interesting because
the reside within the DNA. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, basically, the way the I-Ching originally worked, as it was called, usually worked, was they did it on oracle bones, and it was just seemed arbitrary. Then they did it using bones that they used to scatter, and then they used coins. So they've always used, and then sticks. They've always used efficient means to generate numbers, but that's all they're doing, is generating numbers. All I'm doing is using your own personal set of numbers, your digital DNA, to access the same knowledge. That's all I've done. I've not reinvented the wheel. I've just developed a digital mechanism for the 21st century from the West to access that same body of knowledge.
So, who am I accessing? Well,
You are accessing messages, if you believe this, messages from the ancient Chinese ancestors, dead people. That's what they believe. What you believe, I can't tell you what to believe. All I can tell you is to look at the reading, and if it makes sense to you, you can use it as independent guidance, because it's not biased. It's not someone's opinion, and it's not something someone's made up.
I accept that my ancestors I'm a subtotal of those that came before me.
Right.
And they also can influence me.
Yeah.
But I don't know the actual dynamics.
You don't need to. According to the ancient Chinese philosophy, what's happened is the original people on Earth passed their DNA down, which has become mixed, changed, diverted, but it's still related in some way. We all know that from the people who came before us, because you can follow clusters of DNA to find where your family group came from, and people do that. All this does is reflect that same belief system. And the actual numbers, by the way, when you think of your personal numbers, you'll usually have a first name that was chosen by your parents, so you had nothing to do with it. And in the West, you'll have a surname, as we call it, which will be often your father's, or a mixture of your father's or mother's, about which you had no choice either. And neither did they, because it came from theirs. And basically, this is why I did the test on my friend's children, to see whether I could actually trace some DNA. And I can't scientifically prove this. One thing it does, it creates a hell of a lot of arguments in families from people who say, I told you, you were just like your father. Or someone who says, see, you're nothing like me. It's quite interesting. I've done it hundreds of times. And by the way, this has been tested now tens of thousands of times by thousands of people. I've had a test site running since 2007. So it's not something that's just arbitrary and hoping it works. I've given it a long time, not actually done this to make any money out of it.
And is it true that your name also aligns with energy?
Well, if you were to comply with the original Chinese philosophy, they would say, yes, your sign, if you're from, if you're a Yu, YU, or if you're a Liu, that reflects a line of descendancy that might have a particular energy from water, you might have features from wood. They believe, I'm not straying into astrology here, because I don't claim to be knowledgeable about it. But yes, there are people who link it all together and link the seasons with it as well. I mean, you'll see in the book, we haven't got time to talk about it, but how all of this linked to the seasons, to sowing, to making decisions at certain times of the year, of how the lunar year coincided with the solar year. I mean, the reason the Chinese New Year moves about is because the two move at different speeds. And it's the reason Easter moves. It's exactly the same. I discovered that the oracle numbers that I use in this book, 6, 7, 8 and 9, that drive your oracle reading every day, and it's only those numbers that work, are also, if you get a 1500 AD Christian missal in a church, you'll see those numbers also referred to as relating the Christian calendar to Easter, which surprised me when I found it. So it's a very interesting subject, and there's lots more I've yet to learn. Any other questions?
Sorry to be prosaic. Does do companies and so forth have a digital DNA?
Not in my book, no. Some guys who run newspapers have asked me if they could do digital DNA for companies and countries to see, to make readings. I think that's just making a mockery of it.
Yeah.
I think it's personal, and it's to do with psychology and the self. So no, it shouldn't. I can't see it applying to anything inanimate.
Not groups.
Groups of people, you could, yes. I've actually developed something else that allows groups of people to have a pooled DNA to see whether you can motivate groups by giving them readings on particular days when they've got issues or they've got objectives to meet. Yeah, it could be done in groups because you're just pooling DNA, and that's what happens with DNA. It gets pooled. Anything from over here? Any questions?
Cool. Let's